Hi, good evening. My name is Dave Gagne. I'm the town administrator here for the town of West Bridgewater, and I'm going to bring to you a preview for the upcoming Board of Selectmen meeting, which is scheduled for February 19th, 2020. You'll see if you look at it, it's 3 pages long. It's pretty intense, this meeting, and it's an indicative of to where we are in the season. Normally our spring season is busier. We're going over budgets, contracts, and a whole bunch of other information and stuff that has to get worked on. So first is at 7 o'clock is that we will have a consultant representing a 40B developer looking to put 24 apartments under a 40B affordable unit complex next to Honeydew Donuts on Route 106. They will be before the board. The board will listen to the presentation. The Zoning Board of Appeals is the board where they actually will receive their permit and go through the full-out process. After that, the Board of Selectmen will then vote as to opening the annual town meeting warrant. At our last meeting, they scheduled it for May 18th. So now we'll begin the process of allowing the warrant or agenda to be open. So people, businesses, committee chairs and residents can then place business before the town meeting scheduled for that date. We'll approve and accept our meeting minutes, and then we'll listen to a handful of our budgets. The town clerk budget, the water budget, the Board of Health budget, and the library budget will all be on the agenda, along with a handful of smaller committees that I normally present to the board as well. After that, I will ask the board to appoint a Board of Selectmen representative to the Capital Budget Committee, which reviews capital budget requests that do come before the town meeting, as I said earlier, scheduled for May 18th. At our last meeting, there was a conversation about what the town of West Bridgewater can do to hopefully mitigate some of the impacts of affordable unit 40B housing developments that developers come in. And just as a brief overview, we have bylaws in town which protect all of our residents and businesses. Everybody must comply, and as a result, everybody's on an equal level playing field. The 40B rule allows developers to come in and put in housing or develop and construct housing that circumvents our local housing rules. And the reason the state allows that is if a handful of them are deed restricted as affordable housing. It has impacts. And as a result, the Board of Selectmen are wondering, is there some way that we can do to better mitigate to the better interest of the town? At our last meeting, we discussed whether or not we request our planning board to do the homework and the research in an attempt to get a comprehensive housing plan approved by the state. That does take some time. However, during my research over the last 2 weeks, I also came up with a different policy that I actually think might be better and quicker. So I'm going to ask the Board of Selectmen what their thought processes would be on that as well. I have worked on with our new HR director, Linda Torres, an employee handbook that we've never had before for the town for all town employees. So that will be before the board for their vote. And a resignation from our DPW director on one of his committees. We have a recreational space committee in town that is dedicated to trying to find space in town so we could place more recreational space for our youth. And we believe that it may be the best interest to also add an additional member from the school committee onto it, so that will be before the board for their review and a potential appointment. We have personnel contracts that will be ratified, so a handful of amendments, which means that they are currently under contract but have an annual or year-to-year change. And then my contract, which is a new 3-year contract, that will be before the board as well. Appointments for election workers, because we do have a busy election cycle this year, and our town clerk is going to need all the help that she can get. So there are a handful of people that she is placing before the board for them to officially appoint so she can use as election workers. Under my reports, I have a couple of FYIs for people who are going to use town roads. And then there is also the potential for a digital billboard up on Walnut Street that I will be providing information to the board on. We had a bid protest this past year's town meeting, approved a 5% match to a federal grant for a fire exhaust system. We were ready to award the bid. This system benefits our firefighters to make sure that cancer-producing elements from diesel fuel does not stay within the system. Unfortunately, we were unable to award it under a bid protest, so I'll inform the board the status of that. And the last is that we had a former police officer a handful of years ago make some claims against the town and file a lawsuit against the town, and I am proud to inform the board that the town won on all counts. But again, I will provide an update to the board on that. After that, we will go into executive session really under two purposes, but for three different items. One is that we have a handful of employment contracts that are up, so the board will discuss a potential new contract under a strategy session for those respective employees. Once I get direction from the board, I then bring that information to those employees on the board's behalf. And then two is in reference to real estate. The town has an opportunity to purchase under a 61A first right of refusal, 5 acres up off of Stony Road, so the board will entertain that. If the board votes one way or the other what they would like to do, then that will be placed on the next agenda. The last one is in reference to land that we cannot disclose yet because we are in active negotiations during the negotiation phase. Obviously, other people may be bidding on that property as we speak, so we can't disclose it yet. However, once we are able to complete our negotiations, we will then place that on an upcoming agenda, hopefully the next one. It's depending on how quickly this can go, but we will then disclose at the next agenda as to what those negotiations entailed for a property, and then what the board's intentions would be at that point, whether there is to purchase it or not. As is customary, the board meets on the first and third Wednesdays of every single month. They are open meetings until we go into executive session, and they're closed. But they normally start at 7 o'clock, and because they're open meetings, you are more than welcome to attend. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.